Okay. Hi, Samuel. Um, so thanks for coming. We are live on X right now. And following what we have done during this past session with Morpho, we wanted to provide something more social, like how to integrate DeFi with social space. And just thinking that it's a great thing to showcase what you have built with Morpho frame on Forecaster. So the goal of this session is more about showcasing how to build a mini app, and especially taking this example of Morpho while using on-chain kit to provide a special earn widgets into your mini app, and then after that, you will be able to create your own frame too after this great example from Samuel. So thanks again.
You're welcome. Let me just quickly start the screen sharing. First of all, for those who are unfamiliar, Farcaster is literally social media. So it's a social network. You can do whatever you want there, literally, because it's full on programmable. That's the context on Farcaster, where we're building the Morpho app in there. This could be your app, could be whatever app. Uh, why did we build it? Well, because we just thought it's cool. And Alexander Rapp from the Morpho team was like, hey, yeah, we want Morpho to be right there in the social feed, which is also what you should be able to see on screen right now, where this is literally her posting a link. That link now lives on the social feed. And if we go through in 20 seconds, you can just go tap a few buttons, select the vault, meaning like the kind of like asset, the fund that you want to be in, and then just go through, confirm, and all of a sudden you've deposited money into there, and every single tick on chain, you're now getting some money back and you're earning. We're going to build something really, really similar. Though if we go through the actual code that I did starting last December to build it out, well, then we worked with the Morpho API, so we had to write the GraphQL queries to get the positions. We then manually used the smart contracts. We then also went and we're like, okay, cool, let's integrate the tokens manually. So most of the code we wrote is actually full on manual. And then the same thing that we're going to do today, we also had to do in terms of like, okay, write an actual page that has the vaults in here and the USDC contract, WETH, because we have
Just
ETH and USDC.
just one thing. Actually,
Yep.
I can see the screen. I don't know if
Oh,
it's
is it not working?
um
Oh,
like
okay. Desktop,
I
is
saw
that not
Twitter.
working?
Oh yeah, all good.
Okay,
All good.
perfect. Sorry, switch to the screen sharing. Yeah, so basically what we had to do is just full on write it ourselves. Because yeah, custom code, custom app, custom frame was really cool, was really fun. But I generally don't people want to just full on write definitions and all of it. So what we're doing today is we're rebuilding some of that frame. So we're taking that same approach and we're taking the frame and just doing a little deposit and withdrawal. Why a frame? Because this is literally inside this app. So say on Twitter or Instagram or wherever, if you get in front of a user, they can now in 20 seconds also deposit, which for Morpho has been really cool because that means everyday users just literally come in and are able to earn. For the user, it's cool, especially if they don't usually have access to USDC. And here you can see me like deposit and withdraw. And for us, it's really cool because I just generally love developing those things. And that's also what we do as a company. So that's been a really fun project. We're going to develop that little flow that you just saw. So how do you actually develop those kind of on-chain frames with Wallet Connect and transactions? It may sound really, really complex. It's like, oh shit, there's a new crypto app and I don't know what frames are. Well, they're web apps. So we could actually go and we're going to do this live now. We can go to the actual frame URL and you see the frame. And this is not inside any kind of Farcaster client. Why? Because it's literally just a web app. That's just a web page, and that web page renders within the Farcaster client. We can go here, it's full on functional. The only thing it says is please open this frame within Webcast. Why? Because I just haven't implemented Wallet Connect here. And how can you do this? Well, you first build a web page, and then you make that web page a frame, which literally you do via metadata. And then we're adding the ability to connect wallets. So first, how do we actually get the metadata in there, right? So how do we do this? Well, to get the metadata in there, first we need a web page. So how do we get that? in the first place, right? Because they have an earn component that looks like this, and we can just deposit and plug Morpho right in there. And this is what you just saw in the frame. So this is what we're going to do. Before we quick start here, they have a command for us to just quickly spin up a project. Don't have to run this. And we now have our little server up. We can get this up by running run dev, npm run dev, whatever you prefer. So now we have a little server up and see a hello. Right, so this is now loading, as you can see in the terminal here. This is compiling. We have our little acknowledgement here, and this is our web page that comes up. This is a little simplified. You'll see a fun, more graphical, like active web page if you just use the starter. I already thinned it out a little bit. So what do we do now? We have a web page. If we take this web page and we try to test it here, we'll still see the same thing. Hello from OnChainKit. Okay. But this doesn't have any of the Morpho code in there. It doesn't even work as a preview because no Farcaster frames going on. It's just a web page. So how do we actually get this done? Well, we're going over to our code again. And in our code, we need to say, okay, what is the actual metadata? Like the one thing that a Farcaster frame and the client needs to know is this is a frame, please render it as such. And the way that this is done is there's a little metadata extension. So usually when you do like your web page, you say, oh, the web page has a title, has a description, has an image. So it can be easily found. Look at the docs, you'll find docs there has, as most of you are familiar with JSON, especially for programming, that's really cool. Then we need an image, we need the title, we need a little URL, and this is the format of that little piece of JSON. So if we just copy this in here and we go back over and we create a little variable that says frame manifest, really cool, we just have that in here. So now, because we have that in here, this link is shared on Farcaster, we will see the little preview that we have right here. Like this little preview will come up every single time somebody shares the link. So if I'm taking this and I'm going to publicly post this, then we can see that preview being rendered. So every time the user posts this, and this is why it's so powerful, you can click right here and open up the frame. Why is the preview, it's all working? Well, no, the tutorial isn't done. If we go back to our little fun tutorial, we will see we should add a .well-known Farcaster.json. This is really valuable because with that, you can send push notifications to the user and you can be discoverable on Farcaster and get some kind of like really cool exposure. You're ranking on the leaderboard of like, so if your frame is really high, a lot of users will see that, you'll get some rewards potentially, and you get some clout. It's really cool, but you have to do that on mobile. So you can do that afterwards. But why doesn't it not render? Well, because there's a frame SDK and Webcast wants you to say, okay, you're ready to show this in your frame right now. So it's okay. Can't it just generally display my web page? Well, no, it wants you to do this. So if you have something like a WordPress or the Framer or something where you can't really do custom code, you would just include this script in a little HTML widget, post this in, and you're good to go. And then if you have the metadata also pasted in there as pure HTML, then you're good. There's also a little sample of like pure HTML if you just want a widget to post somewhere. But since we're now building with OnChainKit and we do the Morpho integration, we're the Next.js app, so we have the power of full-on TypeScript available to us in React. So we can add the Farcaster Frame SDK as dependency and then import it this way. And this would be the easiest way to just say, hello, we're here. We're going down a little bit and getting this context, because that context is even more fun than just being able to access it right from a feed and click, and we'll see that. So let's just do this. Let's copy this code over and paste it into our little page. So The Coinbase on-chain kit example and their starter repo works by giving you an app directory. That app directory has a page, and this page is what we just saw, right? You can see the hello from on-chain kit, a DTech Vision tutorial here, which if we go to our page is what we see here. And if we open and back up the frame, this is also what we would see in the frame if it were to load. Why is it not loading? Because, well, we're not calling SDK action ready, right? So if we now paste this in and we just tell it, oh, please add my missing imports, really cool. We're now set. So because this is calling actions.ready, we will now see our frame. Magic, right? Like took us maybe 5 minutes with explaining, 5-10 minutes, right? And we now have this frame. It works. If we press wallet connect, this is bringing up like the Coinbase wallet thing. We want this to just be as smooth as in the video, right? We don't really care. Like this is cool if it's a web page, but we just want the user to do that from within the frame, right? So we want this to be like, oh, here you're connected right away, and they're right in, right? Like this is the magic. Like I didn't have to click anything. I'm just magically connected. So using anything within the blockchain space becomes just that easy, right? That's what we actually want. So now that we have a frame, how do we do that? Well, this is where the second part of the tutorial comes in, right? Like if you remember, 2 steps. 1, make it a frame via the metadata. 2, add the ability to connect wallets. So how do we do that? Well, we take the other part of the tutorial, and this is going to be the second link. We don't need the first one anymore. And then we can just do wallet connect. There's one thing we need to do and be aware of. Coinbase on-chain kit gives us a lot out of the box. So they will give us two wallet flow setup, which is really, really cool. We need something a little more custom. So in their docs, if you go down, you will find a custom provider setup. So there's docs about providers. And here we can see that, okay, we now have actually access to the full-on WAGMI config. What is WAGMI? WAGMI is a little tool we can use to just build web pages. It reacts really nicely. Data. So that is really, so we have to create those 2 files first. So before we do anything Farcaster Frame specific, we have to set up our app to support non-Coinbase smart wallets. So if we go to our little code here, we have the providers and the WAGMI TS. So we've now literally just copied this right here, this little 2 pieces of code. And doing that, well, there's no Farcaster in here, right? Like if we want this. So how do we do this? Well, there's an import Farcaster frame connector from the Farcaster frame WAGMI connector package, which we've also installed in our dependencies. It's called @Farcaster/frame WAGMI connector. And if you're unsure and you just want to copy it, right, enabling wallet connections to your web applications from frames, it's right in here. So really cool. 1 line. All you do is you get this little, and then we have to extend the connectors to add Farcaster frame. So let's do this. We see our full-on WAGMI config in here. Here's connectors. There already is the Coinbase wallet. And what we're going to do now is just add the Farcaster frame. That's it. So we actually didn't do a lot. We just had it. Stephen is asking for links to the info. Yes, I can send those right now as well. Let me just send all of those in here. So you have it. Those are literally all the tabs that I've opened. Here's how to debug this. Here is earning, and here is the providers. There you go. That should cover that. So now that we're adding the connectors, we now know, okay, we can use the WAGMI config that we just created, and anywhere in the app, somebody with a Farcaster frame will be able to just quickly connect. There's one little bonus thing that we should do, and that is make sure we're always on the right chain. For your comes in connected to mainnet or something else, then you just want to switch the user over to the chain you're on, which in our case is going to be base. So we're also copying that code over. And in our page where we already have the Farcaster frame integration, we're saying, yeah, please just also switch the chain and make sure that we're always on base. And we can also just add all of our imports, and then we're good. So there's one thing I wanted to show you. Now that we have the wallets in here, first is how to get earn. So how to earn is to go back to Coinbase, which has this little earn component, and we can just import this. And so if we just default, we'll play the deposit on mobile. If we're on mobile, that will instantly just use Coinbase's smart wallet if we're not in a frame. If we're in a frame, it will just use the Farcaster frame wallet. So how does this look like? Yes, this is literally the video that we saw right here, right? So this is just us opening the frame, going through on my phone, which is right here. And that's what we now built. But there's a lot more cool stuff that we can do in a Farcaster frame. And that's what I want to show. So the first part of this, we literally just walked through, did a fun little frame experiment, but there's way more fun stuff to do. One of that is because we now have this frame SDK in here and we're in a social context, we can access this context object. That's why we copied the little more advanced, like little longer script. What does context give us? Well, if we just try it out, right? Context dot, oh, there's a user object. What is this user? Well, the user, we now get access to their FID, to their profile picture, to the username, and their display name. With the FID, we can get every single Farcaster data point that that user has with them. So our app now knows if you have any kind of like connected wallet addresses, oh, do you have one ETH in there? So should I also suggest not only USDC staking in Morpho and depositing, but also ETH? Or do you hold a certain NFT? Should I show you some community stuff? If we're doing e-commerce, have you already purchased from us before and we just gave you an NFT? Or do you interact with some kind of user? Are you following us? Should we prompt you to follow us? We can do all of this in the frame right here with just having that number FID. We actually do not fully care about this, but this is where you could build full integrations. But we can, for now, just say hello, right? So we will change our hello tutorial to, hey, let's just say hello to the user. So going back to our little frame, this now says hello detect.vision. Well, where's this detect.vision coming from, right? If we open webcast, well, guess what? I'm logged in as detect.vision. So this is our name. If I were logged in as Samuel, this would literally say Samuel. So this is how all of this comes together. And now you're starting to see, oh shit, this is not just a web page anymore. This is now becoming full on social, personalized, and I can just go through and have all of that fun. Well, there's one more thing you can do. Because you're in a social app, you want the user to share. So after depositing, as share on webcast, right? So just take out the front thing. We just want that button. So now it says like share on webcast right here. We could add some padding. It's probably necessary to have some. Let's add back the earn component now that we have standing. So no style right here. We should probably just full on make it a little nicer. But you can see the button right here. If I click that button, that actually opens a new post. And this also works on mobile. So wherever the user is, if they click that button that you now have in your app, they're now posting about your app and they're attaching the right frame link. So this is just the detect vision link, the general link. But what if we actually go and we copy our link right here, and in our code we say, okay, dear user, while you're opening our link, actually just use the proper link, right? So we can go here and say at the end, open this. There's also documentation on what kind of links you can do. It's called broadcast intent URLs. So you go and say, okay, this is mine. I can have a user compose a cast. I can bring up a profile, I can do whatever I want in here, direct messages right away. So you could, for example, build a marketplace where you have to ask the other person, do they want to trade this or sell this? Or you build something where they can ask another person a question. Well, you have now a button, a way to just direct link into that with a pre-filled message right here. So going back to our code, if we now place our frame link in here, then what's going to happen is us sharing that frame now becomes us posting literally about that frame in the feed. So we can now see our little frame here, posting, pressing cast. We've now posted this, and this is on Farcaster. Anyone can see this, repost this, like this, right? Comment on this. Hello, this is fun. And now you're creating virality, because if that user now also goes in and press share, now you're building viral momentum, right? And the cool thing here is we don't have to just go and say, oh, we're posting the same frame again. Let's just take this out. But we're posting the same frame again. We can actually go and say, we want to customize the image. How can we do this? Well, we have access to the metadata, right? So on every single page, if we just identify the user and they're not sharing this link, but they're, say, sharing page 16085, which would be my Farcaster ID, or you use Samuel, then if we just make sure that there's Samuel just on stage or some different page, like in our little metadata right here, just has another image. So just this image URL is all of a sudden not the you could like let the user share statistics, and then they actually see that part of the statistics they share in that URL. And at the bottom, you can then have the action say, okay, show my stats, right? And who doesn't want to see their own statistics? And all of a sudden, you're showing the user their own statistics. So that is how you could think about Farcaster frames, how you can use them. And that's what I wanted to demo, especially with the SDK. For the SDK, the best documentation I found is the literal FIP, like the full-on GitHub, just literally go here and read it. It's a bunch, but the other best docs is the code in the SDK. So I think that's a not we can add this little frame and we can turn on notifications, and then we get a webhook so we can tell, okay, which user has added it. So you know, okay, this user actually wants to get notifications about Morpho. So if the interest rates change or if they get rewards, we can ping them and say, hey, you got rewards, you should go here and you should probably claim your rewards, right? And then we could do all of this rewards claim just right here within the frame. So this is really, really cool. That's what we did with the Morpho frame. We also added withdrawal and stuff like that. So that's how it all ties together. Reading in the FIP, you get a lot more info on that, on those events, on the notifications, which are in here, on where a frame will be able to be opened. This currently is not fully implemented yet, but right now you can only go from a cast, so like from the public feed that we saw. But this will also be available from, say, like a user profile or out of a channel, or literally out of when you're creating a post. So you can add something there, and that's what they're going to give you in the context as well. So the context object, right? SDK.context that we looked at is way, way, way more powerful by now, right? And there's a lot in here. So literally urge you to just read this and get familiar with all of the actions that the SDK has. And you can also just close the app with a little message, right? And like there's a bunch of stuff that you can do in here that I personally find really, really cool. And I think we learned a lot in terms of, okay, what can you do? How can you build those frames, right? Like how can you actually go and make it? how does it get super easy? Well, Coinbase has a lot of the functionality for that right away. And what can we do with it? So with that, I'd say we can open it up for questions.
Thanks for this live demo. So yeah, pretty easy compared to different kind of documentation that you can find and so on. And so basically more about the activity itself. Like, could you share more about the distribution, like how they improve Morpho distribution itself?
Yes. So one thing that Farcaster does, because we're in the social context, is anyone can post about it. So if I'm saying, oh, I just earned on Morpho, I just deposited, I shared this, and then every one of my followers sees this. So this is automatic distribution for Morpho, right? And I, as a user, also get some clout because, hey, I'm sharing a Morpho frame, the Morpho team sees it, it's really cool, and we get some interaction, right? And this is really cool because when I post that I now deposited into Morpho, all of my friends and all of my followers and all of the people that are generally interested in my content also now see, oh, he thinks Morpho is safe. He thinks Morpho is cool. Let me also try that. So you get to tap in as the brand into the whole like following, the whole audience, the whole community of other people and general communities. So using that, if you were to compare it to, say, running campaigns on Twitter or Instagram or somewhere else, well, then you always have to send people out to a link. But any of those platforms always just in the algorithm say, oh, links are bad. I don't like links because links take you out of the platform. And with that, I'm losing attention. So Twitter loses ad money, TikTok loses ad money if they let you post a link, which is why usually you have to promote the link and pay them money so they make up the literal loss from sending user elsewhere, right? And that's why they also open it in like this in-app browser where you then have to click again to get it in Safari or Chrome, wherever you're at. So that is really cool for the brand because it's right there. It's one click, it opens in the app, and I can just take an action, I can just deposit, right? And for the developer, that's cool. If you're building a game, for example, then any kind of action where the user succeeds a level, you can make them post, they can click the link in their own little post, and they're right back in. Or you can send them a notification, say like, hey, thank you for sharing, continue, right? And then they see the notification and they continue. And that to me is really powerful in terms of distribution. And notifications as well. Like you can literally just ping the user and say, hey, check this out, check this out, check this out. You also have their FID. Because of the FID I showed you, you can actually send direct messages to them. So you can now send direct messages, which means, hey, you're not only able to reach them in the feed, you're also able to direct message. So where before you had to have the user enter the email address, you can now just use their FID and contact them via their inbox, direct messages, publicly by tagging them, or they actually share it and then they become a point of contact, or you send notifications, right? So combining all of that to me is really, really powerful for distribution. And there's actually a full-on blog post in the documentation that we wrote just specifically to cover that case. So let me just quickly share this. Like we actually went through, and I'm going to put this in the chat as well. We just literally went through and thought about, okay, what kind of tools does Farcaster give you to create this kind of like flywheel virality and all of that? So if we're just scrolling through here, there's a few samples of apps that use the feed. So this is Paybot. It's a payment system where you can just pay another user, and you go there, you see Farcaster usernames, and I'm just typing in user. Say I'm typing in Dan Romero. I just want to send him some Degen or some other coin. I put in 20, select the coin, say $20. I can create a frame, and this is now posting, and I have to post this. So like the cool thing for Paybot here is I literally have to post this, right? So you could force the user to give you the social credibility and the virality, and then reduce some of the costs. Say like sponsor the transaction, make it free, give them a bonus. And that way you could easily build campaigns on the marketing side. And also, but Flutter being this like protocol where you just have an API where you can access all of the user data. And I can show you this. We can do an example on the Nanar docs, where Nanar is an API, their API reference they have a user endpoint. So we can search by FID. If I'm typing in my own here, then we will now, if we press try it, get a bunch of information about myself. So we can now see, okay, his address is in Frankfurt, Germany. So if you wanted to target people in Germany, here I'm giving you that info, right? Here. There's also wallet addresses, right? So if you care about my wallet addresses, you can now track me. So if we take this wallet address, and because I verified it, we go to Etherscan, boom, there I am. You can see this wallet has 16 bucks. What have I done on mainnet? Oh, I sent some USDC around, wrapped Equilibrium. I used Rainbow Router, interacted with EigenLayer, right? You can now see this. If we go to base scan, you can do the same thing. So you now get to know way more about your user than you usually do. Try looking up a Twitter account. What kind of data do you get? Not as much. Oh, you can see that guy actually deposited into Morpho. Guess what? I'm using my own tooling. There's some degen interaction. There's probably some ERC20 transfers. Yeah, I sent some USDC around a bunch, right? There's some NFT transfers. So I got a GM Farcaster token. Did Kojak vending machine. I got a gem right here, right? So that's just generally how it goes. So here's a Favel one, which is like a Farcaster frame commemorative token. So that's it right there. What you can look up. There's also Solana addresses, so it's not just limited to Ethereum, but there you go. Then there also is my full-on name, my display name that I said, my profile picture, and the username. And that info, that like FID, username, display name, we also have in the context, right? But we would then, with that FID, call up an API like Nena or the general hubs, like the open network. You don't have to pay for Nena, you don't have to use Nena. You can just use the network right away, which you would go to docs.farcaster.xyz for. And that has a little reference, and that HTTP API has a user data API that you can query. User data by FID, it gives you the user data back, right? So it also says like, oh, this is the FID of the user, and yeah, you can just look up more here. This is a little more involved, because Nena does all of those queries together for you and then serves you that data, but you can go directly to that as well and even run your own instance here, so you don't have to even rely on external data. That's the power of an open network. But this to me is really, really cool, because then you can make something like this. You can build an app like Alex did and just say, hey, yeah, we know all of the Farcaster user data anyways. Let's just make sure that in our campaign, while we do marketing, we collect those addresses, and then we can just give a token to you or send you invite codes and all of it. You can also just display that data in your crypto wallet, right? Because I showed you that you see my address, you see my history, you see my transaction history. So you can see, oh, do I own this token? If I do, you can put my face in here for people that follow me. Because if I'm in my wallet and I'm logging in with that wallet address and I have that in there, you can reference that to Farcaster, look up which wallet, which Farcaster ID is connected, who do I follow, and then you can show me this info, right? So you can make everything more social, more personalized to me, more likely that I'm going to enjoy it and get signal out of it. And then you have all of the little different kind of Legos, so like the developer tooling that we have. So this is all of the like publicly available content. Talked about that a little bit in terms of like, you can see all of the posts as well, the user data and all of that. The connected wallets, we literally looked up my wallet and saw on Etherscan and Basescan what I'm doing. You have frames, which we've talked about all before. Then there's something really cool. There's cast actions. Most likely, most of you actually won't remember cast actions. This is rather, it's not really used as much, but this little button right here, you can do cast actions. And these little cast actions are just a context menu. So you can go here and add your own action, develop your own action. And then if you just press the little context button, there's a list of things coming up. and we can explore the samples in the docs here, that will just say, oh, you click this, you do the little action, and then by clicking, say, like check FID, you get a little pop-up with the FID. This can also bring up frames. So now from any kind of cast, you could say, oh, share this as an image. You can make your own custom image or add this to your marketing tool, your CRM. Or if you're a developer, add this to my backlog. And then you have the casts referenced to your issues. So every time an issue is fixed, you can now go back and every single user who posted about this issue, you can now notify them, right? So this is also powerful. Then mini apps, there's like Frames v2, there's two different versions of Frames, but we're mainly focused on Frames that we just saw. There's direct messages, you can send them to users. You can also build bots or AI agents, which like automatically reply, or you tag them and they reply. The cast intents we saw, so you can just generally in your web app have share feedback on Firecaster. It links to your community, tags you, and now you get feedback in public, which is cool because that means you talking about the brand gives you the association, right? So for example, for a brand like Morpho, what would be the benefit compared to just sending them an email? Well, anything that can be public, I think should be public in support, because one, it allows a brand like Morpho to show, oh, we have the best support in class. We actually take care of you. We will just actually respond to you. Also, it shows, oh, if that user has a question about Morpho, you now get their distribution, right? And it's like, oh, this person uses Morpho. Oh, cool. I should check this out. What is Morpho, right? And then there's a lot more in detail right here that goes through what all of this is. This is probably the coolest. There's a little matrix we did. And I think I sent this link in chat already. Yes, okay. So you got this. And what does this mean? Well, there's a Webcast Explore page, and casts have an Explore page, Frames have an Explore page, mini apps and others had an Explore page that changed a little bit. But that means there's a way in Webcast for this to be discovered. This also can be discovered in feeds, right? And in direct messages. So you can now see, okay, where do I want to reach the user? How do I want to reach the user? Sure, okay, I can actually do this. And now you can start to come up with different kind of marketing schemes and tactics to really drive awareness and really full on utilize all of the tooling that's available within Firecaster. And that to me is really, really powerful. Is if we look at other platforms, most of those APIs are either not available or they're just gated behind tens of thousands of dollars every single month if you want full data access.
Thank you for all this precision and showcasing as well everything related to marketing side, because I think it's super important to know how to onboard people, and Farcaster looks like for marketing user, for marketing for users, sorry, and for developers looks like a great gateway to start. And so yeah, thank you for that, for the showcase. And probably if you have like any advice, let's say tomorrow a Web2 developer want to start, which documentation itself he gonna use?
Yeah, if you're a
Because
Web2 developer,
there's like looks like there is 3 main documentation. So your documentation, this one developed by Limoni, and another one developed by Farcaster team itself.
yeah, literally, if I were a Web2 developer starting on Farcaster, I would look at the GitHub. So the Farcaster GitHub repo and just make sure that you kind of understand the what's called FAPs, which are literally the specifications of how things work. One of those would be the Frames v2. I would literally have you start just, you have a web page, you know how to build a tool, you have already built web pages, you can do that. And now you're taking that web page, you want to bring it inside of Farcaster, either as a small game, as a little gimmick, just make something work. And now you go to detect.vision/Farcaster, you have the docs there, and this is what we also walked through in this workshop of how can you take that web app and make it a frame. And then from there, I would have you read the literal FIP, Frames v2 FIP in the Farcaster GitHub, because there you have all of the data. If there's any detailed questions or something, docs.farcaster.xyz, but that's sometimes outdated. So I would literally just look at the GitHub and then look at the actual repositories of the apps that you're integrating. And then you can just jumpstart, take your app and take it in. Most important is you're building a web app. So you don't have to rely on Farcaster specific documentation. You can take the great documentation that's already out there for the whole web and just bring all of those apps inside of Farcaster, because all you need is the metadata to just render it as a frame.
Perfect. And last question, more about incentives that existing inside Sparkcast are related to developers. So if you can share more about it, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, there's the actual like Farcaster team, the company behind it called Merkle Manufacturing. There's a company building the Webcast client and Farcaster itself. They have launched an incentive program where right now it's $2,000 a month, a week, sorry, it's $2,000 a week that are distributed. So if you're building a Farcaster frame and it goes viral, it has a lot of usage, a lot of transactions, a lot of users just generally open it, then you get money. So they're ranking frames based on usage, and based on your rank, you get a part of those $2,000. And they're most likely going to just generally increase that pool over time. And that for you means like if you're building a viral game and that goes viral for 1 week, you can make probably what's the top? I don't know what the actual top amount of money is, 250, $500 potentially right now on the 26th of March, 25. But that is most likely going to increase. And then also like we saw in the whole workshop, you can put in Coinbase's on-chain kit or some other smart contract interaction, some like blockchain interaction, and now you're tapping into the funds of users. So because every single user is just one click away from minting an NFT from you or buying a coin or doing something, you have an easy way to monetize. You could have that user share like 5 ETH with you, and then they get some kind of gated access, or they buy a subscription, or they do something there. Why would you have them do the subscription inside of Farcaster? Well, one, because if they get airdrops into that wallet anyways, they have funds there that they literally don't think are valuable to them, in the sense of like, oh, this is like when you were small as a kid, right? As a kid, you just get some money from your parents to buy ice cream. Well, this is kind of like an airdrop for most people. It's just ice cream money. It's like, okay, yeah, what fun stuff can I do with this? And if you're sitting there with your game and or your app like Morpho deposits, every single Tuesday, users like the top 1,000 users on Farcaster by engagement, they get money. So they get some USDC. So every single Tuesday, the Morpho team and we're like, yeah, every single user, you just got money. If you want to make that money earn interest for you instead of spending it and actually like invest it, here's the Morpho, put it into a vault. And this could apply to all kinds of other ecosystems. If you're a token, then what I would do is every single Tuesday to those users, if they have added your frame, send a notification, and generally make sure your marketing runs on Tuesday when those rewards went out, to be like, hey, you just got USDC, here, you can swap it for our token, here's what we do. And then at the end of that frame where you swap it, the user said, oh, I just swapped my rewards, and they shared this. And now their followers see it. So every single Tuesday, you have the possibility of some of that money that is sitting there. One really interesting thing there is there's a Dune dashboard. Let me just find it on Farcaster for dry powder. Yep, found it. And here's the dry powder Dune dashboard. Now I'll share that link in the chat. But this literally tells you how much money do Farcaster users have in their wallet. And I think $45 million in stablecoins is a lot. So just $1 right here where one chain is properly shown by Dune. The stablecoin value though is accurate, because I literally ran that query myself a few times last few days. So you now get to tap into $45 million. May not seem like a bunch, but getting your first 1,000 users, getting a bunch of users to care and share, while Farcaster grows and this number grows, well, that's a lot of funds to tap into. And this is like in stable coins just sitting in their wallet. This should go into Morpho and earn, or go into your protocol or into your app, right? So let me put that link in chat. But this is something you could track and leverage with the rewards and the wallets generally being right there.
get that I got through my activity and so on. I put it after that into a mini apps that is
Yep.
on Farcaster. So it's like a cool process. Yeah, just well thinking. And yeah, actually inside the Farcaster ecosystem, do you know how many developers are into it for the moment, and what is the target
Yes.
for next month? Something like
Well, the target, you would probably have to ask the core team about that.
yeah, that's
The main thing they're always saying is just 10x, 10x, 10x. So currently, I would guess we're around 1 to 2,000 developers in and out of the ecosystem, but that also really depends on how you're counting. What is a developer? Is somebody that tries to just build a frame once a developer, is somebody who has published like a frame, a developer, right? Is somebody who bought an annual subscription and tried to use their APIs, a developer, right? I would guesstimate we're around like 1 to 2,000 people. If you want to track the actual number of Farcaster users, there's also a Dune dashboard to do that. Let me also put that in chat. So you have that as well. The current user number, according to that dashboard of like daily people posting, is 50,000. That is people actively posting, supposedly, which most likely means there's around 80, 90,000 people potentially like consuming content in and around Farcaster that have $45 million that you can tap into. So like, not a lot of people, a lot of money. Means those kind of economies, like a Switzerland, where you can actually make a lot of money. That's one incentive for a developer. Some people just don't care about money. Then what you do is you just do the 50 users and you do the first developer is like from people, I see people like stuff, I see using apps. Is there a much way of people, right? HD tech. Um, that's a good question. Well, you can literally reach out to me. So dtech.vision, there's a calendar link in there. If you press the button of work with us, you can reach out to me. What you would not expect is for us to just say, hey, you have a really cool project, and we just do whatever you want. What we do is we go actively with you and sit down and they like, okay, how can this work? How can we make this work properly on Farcaster? And how can we make this work for you to be as big as possible? And then we figure that out, and then we actually go and build it or help you go to market. So that's usually what happens. What we do not do is just blindly go and you say, oh, I have this idea, can you develop this for me? We go to some kind of scoping discussion and figure out, does this actually make sense? How can you best reach your users? What is the marketing side? How would you go to market? How can we refine the idea? We challenge you on that, and that's what we do. How to get the best out of that is literally trust us, and we trust you, and then we openly communicate and we figure that out, right? To get the best out of it is just not use it as, hey, we found developers, can you just build us a frame? It's like, okay, you have found a boutique that full on understands Farcaster and is able to technically deliver to this outcome. How can we get there? We thought about doing this way, then we figure it out, do it. That'd be my pitch on how to get the best out of DTech. And also like more detail, we have docs. So like the starter guide we went through that has all of the ways of how to go viral, all on the webpage. There's a blog post with case studies we did, all on the webpage. There's a YouTube link also on the webpage. You can find YouTube that talks of literally something like this workshop where we do the same. So most of our knowledge is just public. So you